Local activists urge ministers to tone it down. The bodies of 2 deceased immigrants recovered in Grand Bahama, and magistrates hosting a book signing on Saturday. Good evening, everyone. I'm Leah Cooper with your JCN News for this Friday, June 11th. A local activist group speaking out against government ministers publicly criticizing Supreme Court rulings, saying that it poses a threat to judicial independence and the rule of law in the Bahamas. Human Rights Bahamas sending out a statement this afternoon condemning the recent comments made by the Deputy Prime Minister Desmond Bannister, in which he referred to a decision of the Supreme Court to block home demolitions in Abaco as nonsense and not worth the paper it is written on. The HRC claims that after the DPM made these comments, it was accompanied by a host of online attacks accusing the judge of political bias, questioning her patriotism and nationality. Also, not approving of the DPM's comments is Wayne Munro, QC, calling them completely inappropriate for a member of the executive. The HRC, in their statement, agreed with Wayne Munro and called upon elected officials to tone down the anti-judiciary rhetoric, which, if continued, could have the effect of intimidating judges. They contend that ministers must remember that they are not ordinary citizens and that their public statements are extremely influential with political supporters and the public at large. The Bahamas cannot continue as a non-taxing jurisdiction and must use the looming global tax structure changes to attract business to the Bahamas. This according to former Minister of Finance and MP for East Grand Bahama, Peter Turnquest, in the House of Assembly yesterday. During his contribution to the budget debate, Mr. Turnquest said there's no reason for the financial services sector to be immediately fearful of the global minimum tax initiative proposed by the G7 group of nations. He contends, though, that the days of the so-called tax haven are coming to an end.
Firstly, let me say that I believe that there is no reason for us to be alarmed at the statement issued by the G7, as it is one of general agreement on an intention that still requires tremendous work and sign-off by the entire G20, after which technicalities and timelines will have to be worked out. Make no mistake, however, that no matter how the final agreement ends up, it is likely to have some impact on the Bahamas and our international taxing obligations, if not domestic.
He adds that for those who continue to hold their heads in the sand, believing that the Bahamas will be able to continue as a non-taxing jurisdiction, he would only remind them that bank secrecy was also at one time an untouchable subject that has gone the way of the dodo bird.
We need to adapt and to develop strategies to get ahead of these developments and exploit the opportunities that can be derived as a cooperating and globally compliant jurisdiction. For instance, Pillar 1 of the tax initiative looks at taxing rights for digital services. At present, all international digital services provided to consumers in the Bahamas are untaxed. If we were to assert our taxing rights over these transactions, it would represent new revenue. So as not to be too controversial on this matter today, I will not give specific examples of areas that may be subject to such a tax, but consider all of the service providers that provide services to the Bahamas or to Bahamian entities or consumers, generating from elsewhere but delivered in the Bahamas.
The former finance minister said the Bahamas should take advantage of the proposed minimum global corporate income tax of 15% by modernizing the country's existing corporate tax structure and use the change to attract multinational corporations to this jurisdiction. Travel restrictions for those coming out of Haiti extended again. The Office of the Prime Minister releasing a statement last night making the announcement via a new emergency COVID-19 pandemic management and recovery amendment number 4 order 2021. The entry into the Bahamas of any vessel or person who has departed from Haiti, whether by direct transport route or by transiting through another country by air or sea, is prohibited until the 11th of July July 2021. This is the fourth time that the restrictions on travel from Haiti has been extended since it was first implemented in February this year for 21 days. It was then extended to March, April, and May. When it was extended last month, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in a release advised the public that the suspension of travelers directly from or transiting through Haiti will continue as the Bahamas government found it necessary to take this measure given the continuing uncertainties regarding the management of COVID-19 in Haiti. Foreign Affairs officials also at that time said as the Bahamas seeks to manage the spread of the virus within its own borders, the government, based on the advice of health officials, deemed it necessary to take this measure to prevent risk to the nationals and residents of the Bahamas, as well as visitors to our shores. Former Progressive Liberal Party Senator Audley Hanna laid in state in the foyer at Senate today. Mr. Hanna served as senator in the late 70s under the Pinling administration. He was a trade unionist and contractor by profession. Governor General Sir Cornelius Smith, parliamentarians, the official opposition, family, and friends of the Hanna family all signed the book of condolences this morning. POP leader Philip Davis spoke with JCN's news team on the impact Mr. Hanna had in the country.
As a result of that, he was made a senator for the Progressive Party and served as in the Senate for several years. But he was selfless, and so when it came to him to step down to make way for others, he did that, even though he didn't have to, because he always put the common good in others before himself. Very selfless man. And he was a passionate Progressive Party member and was very passionate about the progressive cause, which he promoted. And he promoted it understanding and identifying those things that made for peace, that built up the common life. He'll be sorely missed, particularly by me, because he's one of my most avid supporters.
Mr. Hanna, a native of Love Hill, Andros, will lie in state until 3 p.m. He's survived by his wife, Anne, and other members. Senator Hanna's state-recognized funeral will be held on Saturday, the 12th of June, at the New Redeemed Tabernacle Church of God in Christ at 10 a.m. He will be buried at the cemetery of the Mount Bethel Baptist Church in Love Hill, Andros. You're watching JCN News. Stay with us.